webinar for Dallas Fort Worth. My name is Columbus Brown. I'm a certified business architect. I work for a company called From Here On, but I'm also the founder of DFW Band. And I'm, I'm at the heart of it. I'm just about developing leaders, growing communities of purpose, and designing meaningful things that impact for good. And so we've got some awesome folks we're going to go around. I'm going to introduce you to that are part of this team, and then we'll talk about what we're doing and get right into it. Um, First up, we've got Mr. Eric Morgan at the top. Eric um, just recently moved to the Dallas Fort Worth area from California. He works with Volant Advisors. He has his consulting company. He is a certified business architect with the Business Architecture Guild and has many years of experience working with different companies in IT strategy and different realms like that. Next up, we have Mr. Doug Goldberg, hailing from the Dallas Fort Worth area as well. He is a certified business architect and is currently working with Cargill. And awesome guy, real well-known speaker in the business analysis community who recently made an awesome transition from being a business analyst to being a business architect. We have Wendy Keene. She's hailing from Norway right now. Is that correct? And she is founder of the one of the founders of the Business Architecture Guild. She is the managing director and founder of Strategy to Execution, a consulting firm. She's also the founder of Architects for Good. And when she's not out saving the world and changing everybody's life, she's just a really good spirit and awesome person who's really influenced, I'd have to say, all of us into where we are and us coming together today. And last but not least, we have Ola Akindele, and he is a certified business architect who is a process and business architect with Southwest Airlines. Um, I was throwing a personal thing. He is a great coach. He coaches soccer and is really active with other nonprofits. And this team has all come together to bring this to you guys today. Um, this session came out of a conversation that Wendy and I had about 3 years ago of how could we offer opportunities for uh, people who have this strategy ability to learn and grow, but at the same time benefit other organizations. And so we've it's grown into you guys coming today. So what you're going to get today is some great feedback and some be exposed to different practice. We call it like practice of how you formalize your vision, mission, value proposition, as well as how do you construct a business model. And our hope is that you're going to acquire a deeper understanding of different ways to do business problem solving, some best practices and techniques around that. So I'm going to reset again and just let you know the agenda here. It's architecting for good. We're going to go into your why, vision, mission, and value proposition. Talk about delivering your value proposition to your customers, building blocks for your ecosystem. How do you align business changes with objectives and strategies, as well as what is business architecture in terms of a holistic approach? So there'll be just some rules for today of how we can engage. If you have a question, feel free to jump in. But I do ask that if we have someone that's in more of a presentation mode, just drop it in the chat, and I'll speak up and pose the question to the speaker at the time. That's one thing. The other, let's be respectful in our speech and our opinions to everyone. That goes without saying. Enjoy it. Please come and be attentive and be prepared to learn and be prepared to share. And we are recording this, so if you are objectional to us recording it, just let us know in the chat before we go forward. So, did I miss anything, you guys?
Nope.
All right, we are going to start it off with Miss Wendy Keene, and I'll turn it over to her.
Excellent. Well, welcome to you all. Thank you for being here. You're in amazing hands. This team, as you can tell, is not only experts in what they do, but these are a pretty incredible group of people. So welcome. And to all of you nonprofit leaders, thank you for all that you do every day to make our world better. So I'll just give a tiny bit of an overview on this architecting for good idea before we jump into the good stuff that I know that you're excited to hear about. So our why is really wrapped up in the quote you see here from Mr. Buechner. And, architecting for good was born out of my own personal journey. I'll sort of skip all the details, but I got to a place where I would work my normal job, but I would spend 3 months a year, especially in the ground in Africa and some other places, just doing pro bono work. And I found that my joy was in this intersection, as it says, where your deep gladness, what you're really good at, what you love doing, meets the world's deep need. And I found it just so powerful that I could use my day job skills, my business skills, to help nonprofits do what they do and increase their impact. And I think this is behind the other people that are here. We just want to do good and help others make a difference. Next slide. So our mission really is we care deeply about helping nonprofit organizations achieve their missions, because your missions take care of our human family and environment and make a better world for all of us. So again, we just want to magnify that and bring to the table our skills and our gifts and our passions. And also, we know there's a part of the equation that is really fully leveraging your precious resources, whether those are funding or volunteers or time or whatever it might be. And so we do work with organizations that are small, medium, and large. Of course, we have different things we're thinking about depending on where we are in the journey. If you're starting, you might think about things like, how do we tell our story? How do we make sure that we have a viable idea to make the impact we want? If you've been on a journey for a while, you might be thinking about scaling, and maybe in some cases having to scale pretty fast to meet the need. And then larger organizations, certainly, thinking about efficiency and how do we operate and how do we always do better. But also there could be transformation that happens in there as well. And regardless of the organization, though, we bring to the table helping people to have a common language and a common mental model, as we say, so we can communicate better. This can be really relevant for nonprofits, especially those that might be crossing different global areas of the world, so we can communicate and have that shared mindset. And the other thing you'll hear we're very passionate about is the idea of strategy execution, or getting ideas into action. If any of you are familiar with Patrick Lencioni, he's written some books, including The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, but I've recently heard him talking about how many organizations go from ideation into implementation, but there's an activation stage in the middle that we often forget about. And that's a place that we all really like to play, to inform direction and be able to translate that, understand where we are today, figure out how we move into the future, and make sure that we actually achieve the results that we're looking for. So the next slide is just to say that we care about what you care about. You are balancing a whole bunch of things as you're actually delivering on your mission, whether that's how to scale that, how to secure funding in a sustainable way, responding to changing landscape, measuring impact, weighing different options you have, and trying to guide hard decisions, finding partners, and so on and so on. And so now we'll just share just a couple slides of vignettes. This doesn't give you an entire idea of everything, but we wanted to share just a few snapshots of some ways that we've worked with nonprofits to give you a little bit of the range. Some of these are big, some of these are small. But the first example there is a New York and a Malawi-based nonprofit helping communities to essentially create their own businesses in Malawi. But a couple things to note with this organization. One was simply just diving into their fundraising activities and helping them to figure out the flow of how things work, and some pretty tricky decision making around taking donations and how to make decisions about what things to be public about, and just some of the ethics around that. Also, this really incredible organization has now moved to a co-leadership model, which means that the New York executive director and the Malawi executive director are working together to run the organization, to really empower, right, the organization and start to move away from this New York presence. And so you can imagine that led to a lot of decision making, a lot of understanding. What does that mean to the Malawi team and to the New York team? What does that mean to who reports to whom? What does that mean to who makes decisions? Where we locate certain assets? And so really helping them through the thought process, which allowed them to communicate it and move into action. Next example is it's become a global nonprofit that helps innovate solutions, products and solutions. Like there's a malaria repellent that's sold by local communities. There's a girls' health product that's really impactful to help keep girls in school. But just an example here of helping them scale up when all of a sudden, they're getting this wonderful pressure and buy-in, and they need to scale fast and really think about what should be doing and when. We have partners that want to help. We have artists that want to tell our story. We have volunteers. And so how do we really orchestrate them to help us scale and invest in the right things? A Midwest-based nonprofit. So we have another group up in Minneapolis, and this nonprofit focused on youth homelessness, leverage business architecture to create common language, tell their story, and really think deeply about the program and clarify their service offering. And then the last one there is an African nonprofit that was focused on providing medical clinics, water, all sorts of different infrastructure to different communities. But what they did is decided to spin off a software that they had developed, very unique electronic medical records software that worked well for remote village sort of situation and its different nuances. And they spun that into a for-profit company, and that now feeds into the nonprofit. So I think that gives us a good example of the sorts of things that we do. And just a couple more examples here that you can see, but again, helping with scale, helping people to find new revenue streams. The Cuban art studio is interesting. They work with disadvantaged artists who are very talented, but also it's therapeutic to have them working on art. This art studio, found all sorts of new revenue streams that they're, and products they're now selling both within Cuba and globally. So, and the last one there is just actually a countrywide education transformation where we use architecture to bring together Ministry of Education, foundation, a university, for-profit partners to really say, what should education look like for, this was Mozambique, right? For Mozambique, how do we all, if this is our target state, then what's the roadmap that we all work on to move into action? So hopefully that gives you a little snapshot. And then just to wrap up on the last slide here, we know it's an honor to work with people like you. And we love walking alongside you as partners. And people appreciate us, I think, as thinking partners, as architecting, whether it's next steps or helping to find ways to improve, what we do, helping to facilitate action, and we ultimately become advocates for you. Regardless of the type of organization or size, we believe that to be successful, every organization really needs three things. You need that effective business model, and we're going to dig into that today. We think you need to be intentional about designing your organization to produce the best results, and a way to, as I showed that diagram earlier, a way to set direction and, most importantly, get those brilliant ideas into action as quickly as you can with your precious resources. And so just a few things we can do are listed there, from, facilitating shared understanding, telling your story, helping you think through direction and weigh options, and translating your ideas, and helping you decide where to invest in, everything up to the scale up plans. So with that, I'm very happy to take questions. Otherwise, back to you, Columbus.
Thanks, Wendy. Really liked what you said about the effective model and getting the ideas to action. So just, a quick question of um, what, as for nonprofits, what are some of the things that you see that keeps them from getting into action that you find?
It's a really good question. I think one thing I would love to hear from the team too, but I think it's just there's often so much we're doing and so much we're balancing. It's just being able to get it organized and get it prioritized, because we're running programs, we have new opportunities, we have people that we want to help. So it's often just that clarity of, like I said, Columbus, organizing and being able to prioritize what we focus on. That's what I see anyway.
As we're going along, just to prep you guys, feel free as we're going along to drop any questions, in the chat. And I have a question for, everybody that came. What are some of those challenges your nonprofit is facing today?
Looks like Sam has a question as well.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for that presentation. I've just got a question because I work with a nonprofit organization, which is based in the United Kingdom. And part of what you just mentioned are the things that we are lacking. And I just want to check that will you be able to support an organization that hasn't got any kind of affiliation with the US, or is just only based with organization within the US?
My answer, guys, jump in. We are one human family, and absolutely, we are borderless. We are one together. So absolutely. And we do work all over the world. Absolutely.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you very much for that.
And I'm in Norway too. So we're an hour and a half
Europe.
from me in a flight.
Oh, wonderful.
Nice.
Thank you.
Sam, tell us more about your organization.
Well, it's an educational organization. So what we do is really fantastic. I recently joined the organization in January, and I've just noticed that what they're doing in the organization is so big, and there's no much noise around to tell everybody about what they're doing. So basically, what the organization does is we have a platform where we have a lot of educators. That means schools all around the UK. And we also have business leaders, volunteers from business sectors that can actually volunteer to speak in different schools on different events. So we have events like CV writing, we have events like apprenticeship, we have events like maths for girls, we have events, several kind of events. So what these schools need to do is just register on the platform, click an event. Then from clicking an event, they will be able to see a search result of different volunteers across different organizations. We have people from LinkedIn, we have people from volunteers from Morgan Stanley, different banks, different big organizations that will volunteer to come and present to students between the age of 12 to 24. Sometimes we go low to the age of 6 to 24 sometimes, that they can present to them and motivate them on why they have to have this particular career progression or career path in their life, being like a mentor to them to say that this is what I've done in my previous life when I was growing up. This is how I've been able to get to where I am right now. And this is how we can support you get there. So we do that on a regular basis. So we get all the schools within the UK. They can go to the platform, book an event, invite the volunteers to come and speak in their schools. And so far, we've been able to do that for over 1,000 different schools, and we're still counting. Awesome. So we do that on a regular basis. But what I've noticed that is missing is just that we don't have that, how should I say it, recognition, or how should I say it now? We are not well represented there. A lot of people doesn't know what we do, even though they value what we do. They don't really know what we do. And The organization is so small. We're about 14 to 15 employees. And I've come from a business analysis background, working for a financial institution for quite a while. So when I joined the organization, I can see a lot of gaps in terms of the architecture, the business architecture. Everything is not the way it should be. So that's why I had a chat with Ola, and he said this meeting would be a very good opportunity for me to understand more about business architecture and be able to help my organization.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. In the chat, Andre also mentioned some of the challenges he's facing. I wanted to give him the opportunity to come off mute. And he said one of our challenges is raising capital and grant writing. Can you come up on stage and unmute and tell us about your nonprofit? And
Well, good morning. Can you guys hear me okay?
we can hear you.
Outstanding. Again, my name is Andre Blassingame, and I actually have several nonprofits that I'm a part of. The first one is SOAR Hospitality and Travel, YLC. It is a youth program for hospitality and travel and tourism. It started off as an extension program for an after-school program up in New Jersey, and it's now turned into an online class. We're actually currently in an online class that we're giving away for free for about 10 students in the 8th and 9th grade. And we've been around since 2013. We really got into it these last couple of years, and it's been great. And we've been having some, funding, but it's difficult because you got to pay the grant writers to get the grants. So finding pro bono or finding people that's willing to wait until the grant is approved to be paid. And of course, we can't pay the grant writer from the grant that they give us, things of that nature. So we're running into that challenge. My other nonprofit is Old School to New School, that's here in my town of Dallas, Texas. We focus on kids that are phasing out of foster care. We have about 2,500 kids a year that go homeless because when they hit 18, if you know anything about foster care system, when they turn 18, they're homeless. They actually put them out of the group homes, and so they don't have the opportunity to do a lot. And so we got approved by the Department of Labor to do an apprenticeship program where they could go to school for free and be paid with on-the-job trainers while they're going to school. So they get to go to school for free and they get paid. And we're currently building community housing for them so that they won't be homeless once they leave. They join our program, then they can move into one of our dorm style apartment buildings and be able to still go to school and still be able to work. And then my last nonprofit is BCA Global. It's for Black and Indigenous people of color for race, food, and social justice. It's out of New York. So the challenges we've been having is more and more with the first two, because when I say new, we're in 1 to 2 years of this thing, and we've been self-funding up until this point. And so, but we need more funding so that we can progress forward. More ideas and more grant writers and more people willing to, donate some time as we build this capital. So that's one of the biggest challenges that we've been doing.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that. So we're going to transition into start talking about, let me introduce our next speaker. Mr. Eric Morgan is going to share about your why, vision, mission, and value proposition. So I will hand it off to him.
Thanks, Columbus. I hope that some of this is really relevant to some of the discussion we just had in terms of grant writing, in terms of getting sponsorship, in terms of getting your message out. Vision and mission are when you're starting up a company, right? You want to be customer focused and you want to know what you are doing and why they want to talk to you, right? It needs to be very customer based. So vision is your superpower. And I like a game, there's an exercise called Remember the Future. And if you have customers now and you have sponsors now and you have fans now, if you ask them 5 years from now to describe what you do, what would they say, right? Eric is a trusted advisor in the business strategy world. Okay, that's great. That's nice to know, you know. So what would your favorite fans say about you? How would they describe you? Here's an example. This is our vision statement. We came up with this among ourselves. A4G is a resource that assists regional nonprofits to effectively achieve their mission. Right, pretty straightforward. That's how we want them to think of us. Okay, and then the next part is your mission. All of this is your why. Your mission is, if vision is your superpower, how are you going to apply it to make the world a better place, right? So it's great that we're a resource that assists regional nonprofits, but how are we going to do that, right? What are we going to do for them? A4G will leverage business architecture practices and problem-solving skills to enable nonprofits to deliver value to their beneficiaries while growing and sustaining their organizations. So many times we see mission statements that are inward looking, right? How are we going to do something? We're going to be operationally efficient and we're going to be successful. It's not about us. It's about how we're going to help others, right? This is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to bring our skills and our experience to help somebody else. And then finally, so much of what we just talked about is a value proposition. Why would your customer want to buy? And you guys don't have customers, and I know they don't buy anything, right? But you get the idea. Your kids, your sponsors, your grantors, why would they want to invest in you? Why do they need your service? And then how does what you're providing deliver something with what they're trying to accomplish, right? So again, customer focused. What do your kids need? And what do your communities need? There's an exercise for this too, and this is an example of the exercise we did among ourselves. This is our A4G between Dallas and Minneapolis. And it's called a value proposition canvas, and you can get these online. They're not hard. And it's a pretty simple exercise to say over here, you start over here and you say, what is my customer trying to accomplish, right? And so we asked ourselves, what are our regional nonprofits trying to accomplish? They want to convert strategy to action. They want a plan. They want to focus. They want clarity, best investments, grants, right, and sponsorships. This is what regional nonprofits are trying to accomplish. This section here is, what do they get out of it? What makes it better? What makes it work? How do they feel when things are successful? They feel focused, enabled, confident, inspired, right? How do they feel? What's keeping them from doing their job, right? What is frustrating? There's ownership, there's conflicting priorities, lack of clarity, unclear responsibilities. Somebody mentioned territory. Limited time and resources is huge for everybody, right? So these are the reasons that they can't get their job done. This is how they want to feel when they do get their job done. So this is the customer side. And you come over here to the business side. This is your organization now, right? So what can you do as a pain reliever? So for their pains, what can you do to help relieve some of that pain for them? In our case, we can help with visualizing, with assessing impacts and gaps, with providing clarity, with creating roadmaps, right? These are things that we can do. And then gain creators are the things you can do to make them feel good, to help them get their job done. We can help with critical thinking, driving conversations, simplifying, educating, clarifying vision, right? All right, now if we're on the business side of this and we say, well, here's the things that will help them and make them feel better. And here's the things that will take down some of the obstacles. What does this all wrap up to? And this is your product and service, right? Value streams and capabilities, impact assessments, education, business model canvas, visualizations. So these are the things that we can do as a product or a service to help our customers feel good and break down barriers. Make sense? And so out of all that, this is our value proposition. A4G engagements bring clarity to nonprofit organizations' vision and provide best practices that enable them to solve complex problems, create an achievable plan, and allow continued growth to serve their community. Right? This is very customer facing. This is what you need from us. And so when we go forward, and again, to some of your comments, we want, and Patrick Lencioni, we want to say all of our decisions All of our hiring, all of our events, all of our propaganda, marketing, all of our messaging revolves around these things, right? So all of our initiatives should be revolving around this. If you're making decisions and there's a choice between this and this, make a choice that wraps around your value proposition and your mission, right? It helps you prioritize. That may be a good idea, but if it's not directly helping this, then maybe that's not the way you want to go. Okay. All right, that was easy. How about any questions about that? That's not easy. Let me tell you really quickly, this is not easy. It seems easy, but words matter. Oh my goodness, we found out so quickly that words matter. What I mean by initiative and what Wendy means by initiative are two different things, right? This is important to you, but this is not important to me. There's process in here, there's strategy in here, you get so many personalities. So it's not something that you sit down and do really quickly. It's multiple passes through this, and you say, I don't remember saying that. No, that's not true. And oh yeah, oh, didn't you? How come nobody wrote that down? So this is a multi-pass sort of exercise, but it is so helpful, and it is widely used in every industry I've been in. So between the vision, the mission, and this value proposition, you will have a great perspective on what you are doing. Defining what you are doing for your communities.
And Eric, isn't it a nice way to help sort of get everybody's voices out there and come to one final sort of view on how we see it, would you say?
Totally, yeah. This, everybody, I made a pass and I put a bunch of stuff, and we had some other people involved in these exercises too that aren't usually involved in some of our conversations, and they brought in a different perspective. We're all different Myers-Briggs types, right? You get all sorts of different perspectives and personalities on these things, and it's totally helpful. Because it brings a common language, a common direction. It encompasses everything that you as an organization want to do. Great.
So Eric, if I'm in a nonprofit and I want to do this activity, like just practically, how would I get started?
That's a great question. I think I like Zoom meetings. I actually use a tool, Sam and Maiwa, there's a tool called Mentimeter. It's an online survey kind of tool. I think it costs a little bit of money, but it's totally worth it. And you can pose some of these questions and people can respond in real time to an online survey. And so you can watch the results go up. When we did this, in fact, we did it as a word cloud. And I said, what are your deliverables? And bing, 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 bing. All these words started showing up, and pretty soon focus got really big and clarity got really big, right? So you can start seeing the common results from the different participants. And it's like, okay, focus is a big deal and visualization is a big deal, right? It doesn't have to be. I've done these on paper. I've done these on whiteboards, draw a circle, cut it in thirds, start putting Post-it notes up. That's the very first way I did it, actually, was on a big board on a wall. Actually, it wasn't even on a board. It was on a wall in a conference room with Post-it notes. And people had their own Post-it notes, and they would write things down and just go stick them up on the wall. And then at the end, we sort of categorized. A whole bunch of people said focus. So we put all the focuses together, and we put all the clarities together, and we put all the strategies together. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it is important, Columbus, to get more than one voice, right? It's not just what I think. It's what our whole team thinks. It's a lot of fun, actually.
How important do you think it is to balance like understanding the needs of like your internal organization versus like your customer? So let me say that another way, because I'm kind of going down a rabbit trail. A lot of times we'll come to this in the set of people that we're looking at. I find this in a lot of large organizations is we know the needs of the people we serve, and so we'll answer the questions on their behalf. And so what have you found in terms of going directly to the source of whoever you're trying to talk to versus trying to start from your assumption that you understand their needs already? What have you found? Like, how's that played out when you do this exercise?
I'm sorry, so you mean the internal people have a different perspective? Is that what you're saying?
So
Yeah.
like our classic IT problem, like we're in IT and we're like, hey, what frameworks do we need to do to improve IT services? And then in IT, we talk to ourselves, but we never talk, rarely. How do you
Yeah.
see that playing out for the nonprofits?
Similar, and that's why we always say this is the customer job, right? I suppose, from your organization's perspective, your customer is your community. You could easily do this from an internal perspective or an IT perspective, right? I might play this as an IT game and say, my customers are the business unit leaders. And say, what are my business unit leaders trying to accomplish? It's the exact same exercise, right? Just a definition of who your customer is, right? From your perspective, you're running a nonprofit organization for community-based activities, right? So that your customer is certainly that. But Columbus, you're totally right. And I think we always say, it's interesting when you have conversations with IT, they always say our customer. They don't mean the outside customer. They mean the people that they're supporting with technology and infrastructure and computing resources, right? So, but it's the exact same game. It's the exact same picture. It's the exact same exercise, but you have to define who your customer is. Be clear. That's where you start. That's where you start on the business
Just
model.
even in transparency, as we were working together in developing this webinar, part of it was, do we really understand the needs of the nonprofits we're trying to serve? And even in this activity, we're looking for your input, and we're validating our value proposition as well. Like, Andre brought up challenges around grant writing and raising capital, and that was not top of mind, personally for me as a struggle. And so understanding that and bring that back into an activity like this is really helpful, because you might end up changing how you operate. And we call that a business model, and part of why your company exists.
Right.
And so we've talked about your vision and mission and value proposition. Doug's going to lead us now in an activity of how you bring that all together. And he's going to use another tool that ties into this value proposition to be able to do that. So I'll turn it over to Doug.
Thank you, sir. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the business model, and the tool that we're going to talk about is the business model canvas. So let's talk first about getting our heads around what a business model is. And that is really, a business model is a way to understand and get some clarity around how an organization creates value, delivers value to its customer, and captures value in the organization. And the way it does that is by dividing the concepts up into a set of 9 building blocks, as you see here. And I'm not going to read them here. You'll see them in the business model canvas that we're going to go through. Now, this whole thing has been developed by a team that created the business model canvas some years ago, and it's taken on almost a viral following. It's been used all over the world, and it's very effective, very simple, but very effective, and is often used in concert with a number of other methods and tools to understand the value of how an organization understands its value propositions and the ecosystem around it. So the business model canvas, as it states, is a tool that captures that thought process and how to construct that thought process into a model that's easy to read, easy to understand, even if you don't understand everything about business value and business modeling and everything like that. And like the value proposition canvas that Eric just showed you, it's an iterative, repetitive process to use it and build it. It's meant to be repetitively gone through, I forget the term that you use, multiple passes is how Eric referred to it. You try it out, you come back to it, you walk away, you come back to it, add some things, and refine it in multiple passes. And you test the things that you put into it until you get to the point where the organization is able to confirm the validity of what you've put together, what it's put together as a solid model. The interesting thing is it doesn't stop there. You know, once you've got a solid model, the world doesn't stop at that point. The organization doesn't stop at that point. The world around you changes, the organization continues to grow. So the model that you have in place is good for the moment in time that you can use it, but over time, both those things continue to evolve, and you want the ability to update that model over time. So today, what I thought we'd do is take a look at, first, we're going to take a look at a sample, and then we're going to take a look at an interactive exercise where we can all participate and try it out for ourselves. So this is a sample model of the IKEA organization. And in the middle, you can see the value proposition. So the value proposition that IKEA's got is the affordable modern furniture. That's what they've decided is what they're bringing to their customer community or their customer base. Now you can start with the value proposition, or you can start with their customer segments or their customer base. Who are they serving, or what is their value proposition? If you start with the value proposition, you can then say who's obtaining that value from the value proposition. And that would be your customer base. Now, obviously, all customers aren't created the same. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But you can start with a single category and then break it down into separate categories. In this case, it's one, the mass market, mass consumer market. And then you can say, how do we get the value to the consumers? And in this case, you can see the channels are the IKEA stores. All right, they sell modern, affordable modern furniture through their IKEA stores to the mass market. And they use key partners to help make that happen. Key partners is KP. They have do-it-yourself customer transport and assembly partners that help them package the affordable modern furniture and flat packing, and help them get it, help them with assembly instructions. And that's sent to IKEA stores and it's sold to the mass market. So it's a very simple yet elegant business model that helps them make millions and billions of dollars and serve a very large customer community. So we won't go through each piece of this, but you can see that simply understanding some basic constructs about your organization and how it delivers value to its customers helps an organization clearly understand the pieces and parts of how it delivers the value and even how it can capture value. Any questions so far, Sam and Mayola? Okay, so this one.
Nothing now.
Okay, excellent. So this one we're going to do interactively, and feel free to jump in online or in chat, and Columbus will be able to take your chat, but preferably you can call out things online. So I've done two things here. I've kind of seeded the 9 segments, which are up here, except for these 2 bottom ones, with some questions. Now the questions are here to make us think through, and that's a big part of this exercise for organizations. Think through each one of these different areas. So the areas are obviously value propositions. Here's your customer segments. Here's the channels that we talked about. What are our relationships with our customers? And then over here, we've got the key partners for our business, the key activities, the key resources to help us do those activities, and then revenue and cost. Now, interestingly, there's two additional boxes at the bottom that are really important for nonprofits, and that is social and environmental benefits that are gained by performing that are important for delivering value, and the cost, social and environmental costs for delivering the value. Okay, so I started with the first one. Again, like I said earlier, we could start with customer segments, but let's go ahead and start with value proposition. Now, here's the scenario for us to deal with. Let's say we've decided that we're a nonprofit organization that is devoted to solving community hunger. And the value proposition that we've decided is that we want to feed the hungry members of our community. So knowing that that's our value proposition, actually, before I continue with that, Columbus, since you're driving the slides, would you be able to capture notes using these note stickers, as we call them out?
I'm actually not driving it, but I can capture
Was
it in
that
the
Eric?
chat. I think it's Eric.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's me. I don't know if I can do that from the presentation.
I think it'd be okay to come off presentation mode for a short time, just for the exercise.
So the value prop you said, Doug, was how might we feed the hungry members of your community?
Value proposition is feed the hungry members of our community.
Okay.
So if that's our value proposition, who can we say is our customer?
Well, who's hungry?
Exactly. Who's going to obtain the value from our services? These are the things you want to think about when you're talking about your customers. Who are our customers? Are all customers the same? Who's hungry? Any thoughts about that, Sam and Mayella?
Trying to think now. I think I can't really remember this. Well, I would say people that visit food bank regularly.
So the food bank is hungry.
So people that visit food bank. So maybe homeless people.
Right. Very good. Very good. And again, you don't have to have this exact on the first pass. You just have to capture some ideas to get down to make sure you're kind of on the right path, right? To start gathering some information about who's obtaining the value. You can always come back and refine it. So if we know that our customer segment is homeless people, those are the people that are hungry, we might even be able to say people who are not homeless but are living in food deserts. They don't have access to food, right? So there could be different customer segments that you might want to split it to later on. Okay, so now that we know our value proposition and our customer segments, we might ask ourselves, well, how do we get the food to the people that need it? And for that, we might say, those are our channels. Okay, so how do we get food to the people that need it? Any thoughts on that?
Food bank.
Food bank.
Soliciting from those who are well-to-do or can afford or support the vision of feeding the hungry.
Say that one more time.
Soliciting from people who are well-to-do, have enough to support the vision of our people, to feed people who are hungry.
So I heard you say
soliciting
from people.
Oh, soliciting. Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Delivery.
Delivery. Maybe food trucks. All right. Well, that would be delivery, right? Okay. Maybe like community kitchens.
Yes.
Okay. And then what types of relationships might we have with our customers who are already struggling? How can we best serve them?
Wow,
Usually,
you stumped me on this one. I don't get stumped. I was like, what is the
usually
relationship?
the answer to this one, right, is usually personal. I have a personal relationship with them. I have an online relationship with them. I have an email relationship, an electronic relationship. It seems like these would be all very direct.
Right. And that's where I was going with it. Like if you're struggling, you're homeless and you're hungry, it would be a very intimate relationship, right? You don't want to make it harder on them. You want to make sure that you're making it easier on them. And that becomes a very personal relationship. How do you make sure that you're going to them and you're not making them get to you as much as possible? How do you make sure that you're fostering their needs and not making sure that you're making it harder on them to solve some very basic human problems? Right. So you might
I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
Sam said local authority. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so they might be able to get more relationship with local authority by letting them know their concerns, and local authority will be the one to channel their concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So local authority in UK means what?
Like council,
Council.
a local council,
Like
Local
city
council.
authority?
Mhm.
Yes.
city authority, something like that. Yes.
Okay, so now let's think about, now we're starting to talk about partners, right? So if you look at the left side of the model, we've got partners that can help us deliver the value to our customers. We don't have to do everything ourselves, right? And there's different kinds of partners. There's people who can help us relate to our customers, like what you're talking about. We can partner with police and city officials. We can partner with churches. We can partner with restaurants that are throwing away food. We can partner with food distributors who are willing to give us donations. We can partner with
grocery stores.
Grocery stores, and you even said well-to-do donors, right, earlier. So those are all kinds of different partners and partner segments that can help us deliver our value in different ways. All right.
With you guys, I'm going to take that out of the relationship then, since the
And
relationship.
this is, so what Eric's doing is he's rectifying the model because we're thinking through it as we're going through it. And that's part of the process. You don't have to have it exact or correct the first time. The thinking part is probably one of the most crucial parts where you build it as you go.
Super important.
This is a really good example, because the whole point is to get it out and to organize the thought. And, it's like over here for me, like I'm loving seeing how we're spitting out the ideas and then, putting them together. So great example, Doug.
Totally. I was going to say there is some trust here that needs to be among the participants. There's no bad ideas, and no idea should be judged immediately, right? Just throw it out there. You can come back because you're going to make multiple passes. You'll catch it later, right? But there's no bad ideas. If somebody says a word, I say something weird, Wendy says, yeah, but, and she'll put up a better word, right? So you have to feed off everybody that's in the room, let them go, put them wherever you can, and you can clean them up later.
So, and let's talk about that. This is not a one person or a two person affair. It's like, and this is a good example right here. There's everybody that's contributing here. And you want it, the more people that you get that are pertinent to the solution, the better results you're going to get for the model output, right? The outcome. So let's jump down to the bottom two. We don't have to go through every box. This is more just an interactive example. Revenue obviously is important. even for a nonprofit, you have to have money coming in to support what you're trying to do. And then cost is important too. Money coming in could be the donations that you receive. That's probably the most likely path for a nonprofit.
Grants.
Grants and donations would be, the primary path for revenue. The cost structure is going to be important because you're going to want to maximize the cost savings in a nonprofit to make every penny count, right? So keeping an eye on what those costs are and predicting what those costs are at the start is going to be important, so you know how to pay attention to what they are and manage them going through the administrative process as you move forward. Now, the last two boxes are not typically part of a business model canvas for a typical organization, but they're important for nonprofits because nonprofits have a particular value to communities that regular organizations don't always have. On the right side, the social and environmental benefits. What do you think in this particular model? What do you think a social and environmental benefit might be for feeding the hungry? The value proposition for feeding the hungry.
Satisfying their needs.
Say that once more.
Satisfying the needs.
Right.
People
These are
get
really basic needs too, right?
People get to live.
Exactly. And there's even indirect needs to that. If you've got people who are able to feed themselves, they become more productive members of society because their basic needs have been satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
So they're able to pay attention
Education,
to the
kids
next
are
level.
able to learn.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So those are some really good examples. And then on the other side, for me, that's the social benefit also contributes to stability and productivity of society. Very good. Thank you, Wendy. On the other side, for me, that's an interesting one because for social and environmental costs, to me, that's for a nonprofit, that's the inverse of a cost for an organization. Carbon footprint. Okay, so I didn't look at it like that. Again, this is a great example. I didn't look at it like that. I looked at it like, what is the cost of not doing something about community hunger? Where Wendy actually had a tangible cost of serving the community food through delivery. Right? Maybe there's a better way to deliver food by not delivering it. You put it in a community kitchen and have the people come to the food instead of the food come to the people. But my thought on this one was, what's the cost of not providing food to feed the hungry? There's definitely a cost to that. And you can address both types of costs in this particular box. So these are all great ways to address the things that often get missed when you jump right in and start thinking about big ideas and customers only. Like, we're going to feed the hungry and here's who we're going to feed, and you're off and running. But there's a lot more to it when you're trying to run a business properly, obviously. And getting these things situated right out of the gate is really important. Now, there's one more box I want to pay attention to because we're going to talk about it. In key activities, these are the things that your business does to produce the value in that results in the value proposition. These are the things that are actions the business performs using the resources it has to perform it, which includes funding, people, assets, things like that, that makes it possible to produce those actions that produce the value. Now you're going to see the word capabilities come up in this presentation, and that's how capabilities tie back to the business model canvas and the business model. And I'll leave it at that because Ola is going to talk about capabilities more. But I wanted to expressly talk about what activities are and how they tie back to capabilities with the rest of business architecture. So you have something to map to.
Hey Doug, if I have a nonprofit and even if I'm watching this on the recording, where can I go to find these templates and different ways to do this?
So at the end of this presentation, there's a blank template for the business model canvas, and there's also some reference links that you can go to for additional links to give you access to all kinds of different templates for you to use. And you can always contact us because we want you to. We want you to come back and say, you'd like to be involved with us, and we'd love to help you even more. But that'll give you a good start.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.
So, we've gone through vision, mission, value proposition. We've talked about how you capture your business model for your nonprofit. Next, we're going to Ola, and we're going to talk about your nonprofit's inner workings, and he's going to talk about the building blocks of that ecosystem that delivers value. Go ahead, Ola.
Thanks, Columbus. I thought that was wonderful, Doug, the way you kind of went through that to describe FDH to us. You guys don't ask me the meaning of FDH. It's Feed the Hungry, right? I came up with that name, that acronym just now, because I think it's a cool example of how the business model kind of works. So we're going to step into another concept, just like Columbus introduced there, called capabilities. They're seen as the organizational building block. So in this very short presentation of mine, I'm going to give you an overview of what organizational building blocks are. And I'm also going to show you an example of what organizational building blocks are, essentially capabilities, and the benefits of having them really well defined for your organization or nonprofit. Can we go to the next slide? Right. So I think really here, as you can see, we have quite a number of bricks being kind of put together there. We're using that to represent the building blocks of an organization. And the idea behind this is that every organization, just like human beings, they're characterized, if you can just go to the next item there, Eric. They're characterized as having, qualities that makes them very unique and successful. And, so just like each and every one of us, we have our personalities, we have, things that makes us, really thick, even when it comes to what we do. And so those qualities for an organization or a nonprofit can be likened to building blocks of an organization. And now I wanted to just kind of point back to what I think Doug had talked about. Since every organization exists for a reason, and for Feed the Hungry, they want to feed the hungry, right? And Doug talked about some of those resources and the key activities that are completed on the business model canvas being relevant. Those qualities that each organization have, or building blocks, they enable every nonprofit or any organization to meet the expectations of their customers by delivering value to them. So I'm going to bring that again to the context of the business model canvas that we've just talked about, right? So if you think about the key activities, the resources that I just mentioned, if we look at that in the context of maybe Feed the Hungry or even A4G, as a nonprofit organization, it's the key qualities that we have, or the building blocks that we have, that allows us to be able to deliver value to our customers. So it allows us to do things like planning and managing events such as this online webinar, delivering services to our customers, partnering with volunteers, marketing and communication. And so if you think about all that, you know, it's those internal qualities that each organization has that allows them to be able to meet the needs of their customers. So organizational building blocks are otherwise called capabilities. So I think the whole point of this is just to help you see, you know, how we came about this whole concept called capabilities, right? One other thing I kind of like to call out is that, you know, capabilities oftentimes are enabled. If you think about the business model canvas we talked about, right? The key partners, you know, the resources, the activities and all that are needed to kind of deliver value to your customer. They're enabled by the people, right? That works in your organization, the processes that sits behind that organization, as well as even the technology. So it's a combination of all these things that would support and enable, you know, the realization of each capability that allows you to deliver value to your customer. So if I could maybe give you a very short definition of how you could look at capabilities, it's the, you know, it's the ability of any organization, right? You know, that may have the ability that they might have or exchange, right, to achieve a specific purpose or an outcome. So that's one way to look at it. Now, what you're looking at here really is an example of a capability map, right? It's not a full-fledged one, just to make sure we're clear about that. It's an example, it's a sample rather, but hopefully gives you a good idea of what capabilities are even as we talk through it. The idea of a capability map really is to give you a very concise, right, and non-redundant. Remember, if I think Wendy had talked about making sure that we have a common way of describing, you know, things in the organization. Capabilities will help us get there. So I'll talk a bit more about that. But as you're looking at this, it gives you a very non-redundant view and stable view of your organization, right? And you can see that that we've kind of called them out in 3 different layers or tiers. The first set there is called strategic direction setting capabilities. And as you can see, you have business planning management, investment management, message management, which kind of talks about, you know, communications, both internally and externally within your organization. They are really geared towards giving direction to, you know, to your organization or setting the direction within the organization. The second tier is the core and customer facing capabilities. As the name suggests, they are really critical capabilities that helps us to deliver value to our customers, right? So customer management, product and service management, order management, right? So if you think about yourself as a nonprofit, these are the kind of things. Donations would also be one of those things that will come in there for some of them that have to, some nonprofits that have to look at donation management, right? So you think about those very critical capabilities that are needed for you to deliver value to your customer. And the last layer there are really the supporting capabilities. As the name suggests, those are really capabilities that helps to support you know, the core capabilities as well as the strategic capabilities in there, right? There are things around financial management or finance management, you know, management of human resources, training, inquiry management. So that's really kind of giving you an idea for what capabilities are. One thing I would just say here is that with capabilities, you have the opportunity to kind of decompose them, as we would say, even further. So what you're looking at here is the highest level of representation of what they are, but we're not here to kind of give you too much details, but just know that you can even decompose them even further. An example will be within finance management, you can have payment management being a decomposed you know, level within finance, right? So having said all that, can we just speak a bit to the benefits that you derive from kind of having capabilities in there? We'll round up pretty soon. Just kind of talked about, it being a way for you to define what your business does, right? Some people like to refer to it as, the business at rest, right? You can see it very concise. It doesn't change as much. Once you have a capability defined, oftentimes the organization, except if you're venturing into a different line of business totally, you don't have to change it, right? So kind of helps you to see what your organization does on a page. It gives you that mental model. It's not about the how, so we're not talking about how things get done in terms of how value is delivered, whether it's by process or anything like that. We're just talking about what is your business doing. The second thing that talks about giving us a common vocabulary and mental model. I've spoken a bit about that. I think others have also touched on it. But more importantly, as you begin, if you look at this capability map that we have in here, you can begin to get an appreciation across your organization about some very key terms. For example, customer. What does customer mean, right? I think Eric was the one that was touching on that before. By being able to clearly define that and come up with your capability maps, everyone gets a very clear and concise definition of what each of these things mean. For example, a customer could mean, somebody or a company, right, that may use, your product or is currently using your product, right? So everybody gets an agreement in there so that you can remove ambiguity. Clarity and visibility into what is common across the organization. So Eric is going to speak a bit more to this, but just to give you a very quick idea of what this kind of looks like, right? So multiple business units within even an organization tends to use, the same capabilities. A key example will be customer information management, which is like a level 2 under customer management, or payment management that I talked about, right? Your finance department might be using payments management from a capability standpoint. Your supply chain department may also be using it. And so when you think about all that, capabilities that will be defined would just be one. We would have just one payment management capability being defined under our finance management level 1 capability. So with that in mind, people start getting clarity and getting visibility across the organization about capabilities that are shared with multiple business units. And the last but not the least, when you have them really well defined, these building blocks that we're calling capabilities, it enables your nonprofit or your organization to kind of, do strategic planning really well. When he was talking about us being able to get into actions and making sure that we activate that correctly, right? So when an organization sets strategic objectives and says, this is what we want to go achieve in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you can easily look at your capability map and say, what is that going to impact, right? And where that is shared amongst multiple business units, you can start understanding what the change management impact of that is going to look like, right? You can also use that to start understanding how it affects how you deliver value to your customer through your processes, or, through, different other concepts that we'll talk about within the business architecture context. But more importantly, you can tie it to your initiatives, right? You can have an initiative that's really focused towards, doing something in the customer service space, and something that's really focused towards doing something in supply chain space, but they're really using the same capability. So having all that concepts and tie relationship set from a capability mapping standpoint helps you and your nonprofit to be able to quickly traverse and see the impact and make informed decisions. All right, so I know that's quite a lot of information to throw at you. I think it's going to start making sense once you see what Eric is going to talk about. Any questions?
Well, thanks for that, Ola. I haven't got any question really, but saying this is just opening my eyes to a lot of things within my organization. I think earlier this week we have like a strategic meeting to look at the organization goal for the next 1 year. and the next 5 years, what will be our plan and what do we want to achieve. And from what you just presented, I've just seen a gap in what we did. I think the meeting was on Tuesday. We were just setting goals without actually analyzing our capabilities. And we have a lot of people from the board of trustees there where we're just telling them this is what we'll be able to achieve, but we are not actually looking at a lot of things that you mentioned here around our capability. We're just looking at what we want our goal to be. So I think I know what to do when I go back to rectify that. So thanks for that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, I have some more for you, Sam.
I can't wait.
I'm gonna jump in here, Columbus, and this is pretty high level, and I must say that there are a lot of different ways of doing this, but hopefully this is an introduction, try an overview. And Sam, what you just talked about, so many times companies jump in here, right? They know that something needs to be done, and let's go do it. And the exact problem, especially in larger companies, is Wendy says, let's go do it. And Eric says, let's go do it. And Ola says, let's go do it. And they have 3 different versions of what they're doing. And in many cases, they're asking for the exact same thing from a different perspective, right? And I'm jumping ahead, but this is, I believe, this is the value of capabilities and strategy, is pulling all of these things together and being able to organize them into a designed, aligned change that matches up with the goals and the objectives and the strategies, right? So if you go through those exercises of saying, what are our goals for 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, like you just mentioned, what are we trying to accomplish? We're trying to increase our sponsorship. We're trying to decrease our costs. We're trying to get more volunteers. What are your objectives, right? Those strategies, how might I do that? Well, I need to have events. I need to have benefit fairs. I need to partner with food trucks, you know, whatever you have to do. Those are the strategies that meet your objectives. Well, when you can start talking about these things in the context of enterprise capabilities, now all of those people in all of your different business units, or whatever your business units might be, they are pointing in the same direction, right? They are working towards the same cause, not towards 3 or 4 or 20 individual causes. So that's what this is all about. This is where the rubber hits the road, I think, is what is your business trying to do? Now, how do I go about doing that in an organized kind of way? So that's what I'm going to dig into. I'll try not to take too much time, and hopefully it'll be a good wide painting of it. A little bit of what I just said, operations manager. Now that you said, here's what I'm going to do this year, here's what I'm going to do 3 years from now, whatever, right? They're going, here we go. And they all start speaking their own language from their own perspective. They don't talk to each other about what their objectives are. They don't want to share what their objectives are because they don't want to be held accountable. And this is my backyard. You stay out. You know, silos are everywhere in reality. And so everybody thinks that they are doing the right thing. They all think that what I'm doing is most important and nobody else is thinking about it. When it comes down to investments and project management and procurement and everything else, these guys are going, hey, you're all asking, I can't do all these things at the same time, and you're all talking about the same thing. You need to go back and figure it out. And it turns into I'm not going to help you because you don't know what you're saying, right? They all think they're doing good. It's just not going very well. A little bit towards, thank you, Ola, for setting this up, right? If you think about some of those capabilities from a sales perspective, sales deals with contracts and payments and products and customers. Procurement deals with agreements and contracts and payments and assets and partners, right? So procurement has some capabilities, sales has some capabilities, but they share some of these things. They share a contracting thing. They share a payment thing. They share a vendor management thing, right? And so when the operations manager says, we need agreements to reflect payment history, they don't care what procurement wants. And procurement doesn't care what operations want, but look, they're talking about the exact same things, contracts and payments. That's exactly what capabilities does. It allows us to pull those things together into a word that means something to everybody. You guys are both asking for contract changes. Okay, let's do that for both of your benefits and not have 2 projects coming in from different priorities and arguing about who gets it first, right? So, and to Sam, let's do like a 3-minute exercise. And Maya, what are some things that you'd like to change and Sam, from your conversation a couple days ago, what are some things that you thought about changing and you maybe now have committed to changing, and how do they line up with some of these sample capabilities that Ola mentioned?
Well, I think most of mine would be within the information management or IT, because I manage the IT team. And one of the things I want to see as change is a better release management, the way we release code into production. I want that to be properly managed.
Okay.
Then the other thing I want to see is training for my developers, because I have 2 junior developers. So I want to make sure that they have the right set of training and skills to be able to do their work confidently. Then also, I want the organization to be able to align the objective with what we're doing in terms of development work that we're doing. We don't just want to be doing things because it needs to be done. We want to be doing things that align with strategic objective of the organization. So we just don't want to fix anything on the platform. We want to make sure that whatever we're fixing on the platform aligns with an objective that will be able to have a tangible value to measure it from.
That's a great. Thank you for that. In terms of enterprise architecture, you just defined enterprise architecture, right? There's a technology responsibility to help the business. So you have customers and you have things that you have to deliver to your customers, but it is so beneficial for you to ask the question of your customers, what are you trying to accomplish? Right? What are your goals? What are your strategies? What are your objectives? And they should be able to answer those questions. We need more members. Why do we need more computing power? Why do we need different distributed networks? Why do we need those things? Well, because your staff is distributed now and we're all remote workers, but you are trying to solve a problem. It's difficult for you to solve a problem if you don't know what they're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah, let me give you a very typical example of what you just mentioned that is really bothering me. We have a very robust platform where we connect those educators and the business leaders. And we also have like 3 sister companies as well that are doing something a very bit similar to what we're doing, but in a very different way. And those other companies, they also have their own platform that migrated out of our platform. And they came out of our own platform to redefine their own platform. And most of their own platform is more advanced. They are all on AWS as a platform. Our own, which is the main parent platform that everyone came out from, we are still not using AWS. So we're using a platform called Heroku. And I've been getting some concerns from the organization that we need to move to AWS. We need to replatform. And I'm like, why? Because the other sister company, they are using AWS. Why do we need AWS? Do we have to scale the platform? Do we have database issue? I'm trying to understand, why do we have to use AWS? But the only response I'm getting is because XYZ is already using AWS and their platform is a lot better. So that's why we need to migrate to AWS. So that's one of the key concerns for me, really.
That's a good one. Oftentimes we'll have folks move to different things like Salesforce because that's what it's been marketed to them, or that's what they see. And so I always go back to like, what is the business outcome, or mission outcome, or nonprofit outcome that you're trying to achieve from that? And what when you look at it from that perspective, it might be that part of it has to do with cybersecurity or brand, or that could be a driver, and it makes us do those things. But having that conversation from that perspective of like, what business outcome are you trying, or what organizational outcome or strategic outcome is driving, our move, and then when you've done the activity like we're suggesting around how, what are our goals, what is the impact that we're trying to make, how does that move the dial, does that make us more reputable, and does it increase our mission, does it allow us to reach more kids, does it allow us to have a better system? If you talk about it from that perspective, and have the empathy just to think from that perspective, it's a different conversation.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally.
And
Information
it
security.
could just be the person, like, so I'll give you a real straight example. worked with I won't say the name of the organization. I work with a prominent prominent nonprofit, and this nonprofit was gifted from Microsoft their entire platform, right? So it's like, hey, you can use the entire Microsoft platform. And I was asked to come in and help them, cost out how much it would cost for them to transition and what resources and things that they need. It's the latest and greatest thing. And the finding was difficult. It was very political. It's like by moving to this Microsoft platform, they would have to move all of their stuff from off-premise to the cloud, and they didn't have the capability, the resources to maintain or do that at the time. And so someone needed to go back to the, the donor and say, I know that you've gifted us $5 million, but it doesn't align with our mission and vision and values. And so, no, thank you, right? Difficult messages, right? But in nonprofits, you encounter that a lot. Sometimes you're gifted things that are older infrastructure or things that are kind of political moves to get you to do things or move in certain directions. So that approach, Sam, will, there might be a donor that's from Amazon, that has said, hey, we'd love for you to do this. We're not saying do X, Y, and Z, but, I don't know that that's the case. I'm just saying in your space,
To be
thinking of,
honest, I think the only thing I picked from that is because I've tried to do a bit of analysis as to why they want to do that, because I know that they're not telling me why. The only thing I could pick from there is maybe for cyber security or
right,
that kind of thing. So, but recently we have a penetration test report that came through, and I had a look at the reports. The other organization that are using AWS, the report is kind of similar. So there's no security concerns. So I can say that it's just because the other organizations are using it. That's the only reason I can say for now. And because their platform is well designed and stuff like that. So that's why they want to move. It's not because of the size of the database or the performance of the database. It's nothing concerned to IT. That's where I had the problem. It's got nothing to do with IT. It's just preference.
Got you.
You mentioned security, though. That's information security is a business concern, right? So if they value all of those names and addresses, and they value all those sponsors, and they value the finances, then it should be, you are a solution to a business concern, right? And if compliance is a concern or information security, that needs to be the driver of why we do this. And if the new solution addresses the compliance and security concerns, then good, but let's say it, right? They need to tell you that's what they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Maiwa, how about you?
Few things that I would like to see. One, the business plan management. In between, I was driving and I was, trying, to listen to what's been going on, and it kind of fit into our charity. Where I church, where I lead, and it happens that the example Feed the Hungry kind of fit into us, because one thing I found interesting there is we want to get it better. I lead a church, and it's a charity, non-profit. And then we realized that where our church is located, we try to look at what the problem of this community, or how can we be of help as a church, as a non-profit. So we kind of liaise with the local authority, just to reach out to our customer, that those that are hungry. So that's why I say kind of fit into us. And now looking at things that I like to implement and to make us better, the business plan management is of interest to me. And because funding comes from donors, within the church, and also I'll be interested in investment management, and also how do I manage the customers. We have kind of bridge, like I said, the local authority acting on our behalf to those families. They are either in abusive relationship, and they're looking after them. Some of them, they are orphans, and they are looking after them. So our charity is partnering with them to help put our smiles on their faces, and help with the security, to be a part of the community that we are. So, and so the relationship we want to get it better, the investment management, the business plan. We're also interested in, like I said, the customer management. How do we get it better? Our relationship with the community, with the local authority. And besides, we realize that even though it's an advanced country, we realize that there are people who are less privileged. And as a non-profit, we're looking at, to assess those possibilities of helping or supporting them. So customer management, it's something I would like to implement, and I like to see that. That's three. I mentioned three now: business plan management, investment, and customer management. And also, okay, there is partner management as well. So that's very key for us. And then the training course will be the fifth one. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. So as you were talking, I was thinking you have, you want to, so say your objective is to increase your partner participation. So that would be an objective, right?
Yes.
Strategy, a way of doing that might be to do some outreach, to do a partner fair, right? So I want to improve my relationship with my partners.
That's right.
Look over here, messaging is going to be important.
Okay.
Because you say, now what do I have to do in order to make that change? I need some content. I need a message for my vendors. I need versus the message for my recipients, right? Those might be two different messages you have to work on. You might have some policies about which kinds of partners you can engage with. You want to do a campaign. Who am I going to campaign to? Is it going to be by email or social media, or is it going to be billboards? How am I going to do that? So just for this one thing, there's 1, 2, 3. You need to know what service you're offering. Here's your partner management. What if they call you back? I need to write down their names and addresses and phone numbers. Right, and a little bit of training. So just this one thing touches 5 or 6 capabilities here, right? And
yes.
then you mentioned, and I need to get with the food trucks and deliver a little better. Well, delivery is message management and campaign management and customer. Where am I taking it, right? And what you find is out of these 5 things, most of them will be around, in your case, it sounds like many of them will be around message management and campaign management and partner management. So you may have 5 or 50 things, but all those things may roll up to changes in just a few of these capabilities, which is so the point. It's so the point. Now you don't have to say, we're going to go change the whole company. No, we're going to change 3 things. And I know the business units that are impacted by those 3 things. And I know the IT, I know the solutions that are enabling those 3 things, right? So you're condensing all these great big ideas down to very specific aligned places. Exactly, that's such the value. And here's same, right? Finance wants to implement and monitor payment history. Sales wants to provide for future periods. Procurement wants to provide for multiple brokers in the commissions, and legal wants to enable agreement via electronic signatures, right? So those seem like 4 very diverse things, but they all have to do with contract management, right? And now there's only so many people that use contract management. So if I go make a change to this, I know who's going to be impacted by it. And I can control that, but from 4 very different perspectives, all of it has to do with one thing, right? And so many things to consider, right? And to both of your points here, what the strategy? So if this is the changes that I'm going to make to my contract management capability, how does this align with my direction? Sam, you want me to go out and change this thing? Why? Why am I doing that? Because we need to be compliant with data security for 2022, right? So, okay, well, now I see why I have to do that. How does that impact my business? Oh, real life, right this week. We have a technology gang that wants to dump $12 million of Columbus, wants to dump $12 million worth of software on us. And yes, it's the right thing. It's got all this stuff. It does all these things. It's perfect for you. They never, ever thought about the fact that there are 1,100 people that are going to be impacted by their change. That's not the point. It's a great deal and it's super cool. Yeah, but 1,200 people have to go get trained for 8 hours. That's 10,000 hours of people time in training. On money. Now, are your cool features worth 10,000 hours of training? No, is what the business is coming down to, right? So when you look at these things in the context of a couple different ways, and these are the things we can help you with: technical feasibility, value versus effort. When you look at all of these changes from a few different lenses, then it makes it much easier to decide what you're going to do. What are your priorities? What is the message you really want to send? When you're looking for donors and grantors and sponsors, you can go to them and say, this is our business. This is the value to our customers. Here are all of the initiatives that we've talked about, and here are the ones we want to do because they're aligned and they're effective, and I know exactly what it's going to cost and who it's going to impact. Mm-hmm. And now if you remember that very first thing up, back, there, right? We didn't go straight into execution. We didn't go straight into our consumers. We said, what are you trying to accomplish? And what are the changes that need to happen? And what are the impacts of those changes? That's a plan, that's a design, that's a roadmap. We did all of this upstream of go, right? Don't just go, back up a little bit and think about it a little bit. Guys, that's what we do for you. That's what business architects do. That's what we all love doing, is taking you through this exercise right here so that when you go to execute, it's in the right direction and it's productive and it's aligned. There you go. There's my message. That's my big statement of the whole day is use us to
Don't
get to
just
this
go.
point for organizational change.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
You have a lot of questions about that. We have a few minutes, right?
Yeah, let's keep going. If you can hit the next slide. So let's talk about, this holistic approach that Wendy introduced. So, there are 5 stages. One is developing the strategy. And the second stage is how do we, once we have the strategy, what are the goals? How do we clarify them and assess the impact? And then the piece of like, here's where, Sam brought this up of we set our goals, we knew we were want to go, but we didn't, my words, not his, look at our ability to get there. So how do we architect those changes? And a business architect is able to bring that into the strategy development and then say, hey, if we're going in this direction, here's our strengths and weaknesses and going in that direction and have the right conversations of how we get there. And that even comes before the plan, stage 3, where we're looking at how do we organize these changes into something that's executable? What are the impacts on all of our stakeholders? Then we get into execution, where we're able to provide high-level scope and definition and how do you accelerate the implementation. And finally, stage 5, of measures for success, your benefits. Have you achieved them? What have you achieved your KPIs? How do we trace back to if we've achieved the strategy that we set out to do? So business architect is a individual who is able to bridge this strategy to execution and to help architect the changes that can be executed successfully. Let's hit the next slide. And so, and what we're bringing to you guys as business architects is being willing to pay it forward. And what we're looking to do is in sessions like this, and as well as on one-on-one sessions, is to engage nonprofits and work with them to help them clarify vision, define business model, operating model, and prioritize these decisions into an actionable plan. And so how we will do that is through, like we said, workshops like this. This is our first one, and also if you're looking to engage with us, you can reach out to us and we'll provide that information shortly of how you can get in touch with us so we could do a one-on-one or a short engagement where we can work with you and a subset of your team to make that happen. So I'm going to pause for a second and just in general, if you guys have any other questions that you want to go through, let's do that.
Well, thank you guys for all the presentation. They are very, very, very enlightening and inspiring. I think the only question I've got is what is the number one, what's the cost for this? Then number 2, if you're working with an organization like my organization, which is just about
maybe about 14 of us in the organization. What is the timeline in implementing all of this, or working with us to get to a proper resolution state?
So the first answer is it's free.
Oh,
The
awesome.
investment required, though, will be participation and some engagement, as well as some information. And so on that, right now it's 4 of us, and so we're lining up how we're going to engage with you guys on that, so that we can take that offline and have a one-on-one conversation. I think, Sam, you sit in a place as well in an organization that has um, like the IT dynamic going on. We've got everything from people who have small businesses, um, who have benefit corporations, or folks who are just like a one person, to like large organizations. And I think this particular team is well suited to do either. So let's take that offline, and we'll engage with you and work through that. But that's exciting.
Thank you.
It's exciting. Any other questions?
Columbus, I don't know if you want to speak a bit to some of the nonprofits that were not able to join today.
Oh,
That would probably
absolutely.
be watching the video.
Absolutely.
Once we send that out, any words out to them, maybe even in terms of questions and things like that.
Right. So for all the folks that are watching this video, again, it's A4G. Our focus initially is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but we're open to working with different nonprofits, and think of it as a pro bono consulting engagement. And what we're looking to do is to walk through these tools and enable you to enable others. That's one call out. I think the second is, if you're a business architect or if you're a consulting professional and you want to pay it forward and be part of this movement that Wendy's created through A4G, I also would ask for you to reach out to us, and we'll get together and see how we can make this movement spread even further than what we're doing now. And Ola, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with us?
Yeah, we do have our mailbox the people can reach us on. It's called dfwa4g@gmail.com. And I'm going to drop it in the chat for those that are here. But for those that will be watching this, it's called dfwa4g@gmail.com.
So that is the best way to reach us. Again, thank you for being part of this, and thank you for those who've watched through the end. Please reach out to us at that email. And I want to also take this time to thank Doug and Ola and Eric for all of the work that they've done, literally for the last year, to make this happen and to pull this together. It's been a work in the making, and we're really excited about this movement of paying it forward and using these skills and giving back to our communities. So hats off to you guys, and thank you for all that attended in person and are watching today, and have an awesome day, and we'll talk with you guys later.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.